On a global scale, 65 million years ago, something crashed down on this planet, and nothing on this planet larger than a chicken walked away from it. You know, dramatic? You bet. This happened between breakfast and lunch one day. So yes, I think the Earth is a very dynamic place, and part of this psychedelic message is, shake the mud off your shoes, monkeys. You can't always count on it to be like it is. I mean, the mushroom has a kind of a hortatory personality, and it sometimes says things which I don't necessarily agree with, that are slightly alarming. I mean, one of its favorite themes is, if you don't have a plan, you're going to end up part of somebody else's plan. And it's speaking to me as a person, it's speaking to human beings as a species. If you don't have a plan, you're going to end up being part of somebody else's plan. The sun has a limited lifespan. There are serious problems with the sun that are not discussed at all, much, except in the scientific literature. It would take major revisions of nuclear theory, which has been in place without revision for nearly 50 years. It would take major revisions of nuclear theory to explain why there isn't something wrong with the sun. The sun is not emitting neutrinos at nearly the rate it should be if it's a healthy atomic furnace. Is it possible that sometime in the last 100,000 years the nuclear fires of the sun have actually slipped off the main sequence? This is an appalling possibility. You see, if that were to happen, the neutrino flux from the nuclear furnace at the center of the sun would instantly drop. It would be measured within 8 minutes on the Earth, the drop in the neutrino flux. But all physical manifestations of this process would not appear for about 70,000 years. The period of time it takes for core solar material to percolate to the surface. So the neutrino drop would be registered virtually instantly, but it would take 70,000 years for any other thing. Well, if that's what's happening, if the sun is going into some state of instability, well, then we look back in the geological record, and what do you see? 9 times in the past 5 million years, ice 5 miles deep has moved south from the poles. Well, what the hell is that about? And you go further back in the record, and you don't find this. People don't realize this. This planet existed for close to 5 billion years before there was glaciation. Glaciation is a brand new phenomenon on this planet. Why is it happening? Well, the obvious place to look is the energy dynamics of the home star. Is it possible then that we're riding an edge more precarious than we know? Is it possible that bios, life on this planet, actually senses limitations and constraints, and that we have been summoned? I mentioned stopgap solutions. We are a stopgap solution. About 2 million years ago, the biospheric mind of the planet said, my God, the sun has just gone off the main sequence. We have approximately 1 million years to organize some kind of arc out of here. A species must be deputized to release energy and to manipulate matter. This species must be brought forward and made dominant species over the earth. And out of that technology, we can perhaps fashion an escape. In other words, we are something that has been called forth out of nature because of unusual dynamics on a very large scale. Well, this is a possibility. Sure.
Fantasy. Heard your take about the evolution of the brain, the next evolution. I mean, it doesn't make any rational sense, but we don't always make rational sense of it. What about the mushroom growing within the brain? I mean, actually not taking it in, but...
I mean, becoming physically symbiotic.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, Brian Aldiss wrote a book called The Long Afternoon of Earth, in which he envisioned a human fungal symbiosis that was so close that people actually had a lump on their shoulder and it went directly into the head. I find this kind of thing a little too creature feature-ish, but it is. I mean, I have had the notion. Not a notion, it was more like a delusion at certain times that, and I can't explain it to you, I will just tell it to you, that the big secret about human beings is that there are three sexes, male, female, and mushroom. And this third sex is I mean, I haven't worked out the genetics of it or how in the world we could have gotten so far without understanding this. But it's that notion that it's wedded into us at that level. And of course the mushroom, I don't know if it's this way for women too, and it's subtle, it's smart, it's tricky. And it uses you against yourself, not viciously. It's just very matter-of-factly knows 100 times more about you than you do yourself. And it presents itself as this 4D girlfriend, you know. It's the soror mystica of alchemy. It's the invisible female companion. Yeah.
I had a dream a few months ago that I don't know if I gave birth or someone gave birth to these children who were like part mushroom, you know, and they were part fungus, and I felt very loving towards them, but they were actually like, you know, beings, you know, but they were like part mushroom, part human. It was all very sweet, you know, it wasn't ghoulish or anything.
Well, yeah, I mean, the symbiosis is coming together. One of the funny insights that I had that I don't try to make sense of, that I in fact don't believe, but I thought it, and it was an emotionally opening thought, though it's absurd on the face of it, was when I was in the Amazon, in these pastures, looking at these pastures full of these mushrooms, I kept thinking, you know, it's the lost part of the human brain. It's that part of us is in these fields. That this mushroom, this is human flesh. This flesh. It's a strange kind of human, but hell, we're about to give legal rights to fetuses. We might as well extend legal rights to mushrooms and make them voting citizens. Because you see, it's intelligent. It's intelligent. It loves you. It can blow your mind. It can make you laugh. It can make you cry. There's no other way to relate to something like that except to love it in spite of yourself. I mean, you know, this is how you seduce someone. You make them laugh. You make them cry. You move them. You get them to drop their barriers. You get them to not be afraid. This is what it does to us. It seduces us back into this relationship, and I think we return to it with an immense sense of relief. It's just like, you know. When I was in Guatemala, I did not take a deep breath for 3 weeks because I could feel the oppression, the artificiality of it, you know, it's in the air, the evil, and you get used to it. But when you cross back into Mexico, you just say, my God, what was that? And that's what history is for us. We're living under siege conditions here. No wonder it's a little hard to connect up with your higher self. We're living in a foxhole, for God's sake. But, if we could realize our situation, then there would be a possibility of change.